Good morning and welcome to Bravo 22 Live, our live programme and YouTube channel made possible by the Royal British Legion and the Drive Project. I'm Shirley and I'm your presenter for today. I'm a British Forces veteran, having served for 22 years in the British military, but I'm also a Bravo 22 member and have been since I attended a weekend improv session in Birmingham earlier this year. Feeling invigorated, energised by that, however, I've returned repeatedly to the Bravo 22 Live YouTube channel to take part in a multitude of workshops and sessions. And the magic of the internet has absolutely meant that despite the pandemic, we've all remained connected and in touch with our military family. And I think some of those who are perhaps feeling a little bit more isolated have really felt supported throughout. This would not have been made possible, however, without the continued collaboration of our top quality artists who've not only donated their generous time, but also shared their insights, their knowledge and their passion. And we really do have a treat for you today. A quick shout out to Paul, Dean and Graham. Thank you for tuning in along with all of the others from Bravo 22. A reminder, please, to all of you to use the chat facility. And, I'll endeavour to get round to some questions. We do have a fair bit of content to get through today and I'll try and get to it. But if I don't, please just be a little bit patient and we'll try and catch up and maybe even sort of send out an email later on. However, without further ado, I'm itching to introduce an incredible actress and star of stage and screen. You will absolutely, undoubtedly recognise her. And I'm trying to be a little bit, not caught by fame and bowled over by it. But she has graced our screens and what has been the most, lengthy and diverse career, acting in some of the most formidable roles in movies and TV, which has included things like Sense and Sensibility, Atonement, Villa de Roses, Star Wars, The Crown, Downton Abbey, and one of my favourite characters, the gritty and intimidating Datcha in Killing Eve. But today, it's her most notable work with the Royal Shakespeare Company that we chat to her and which she's agreed to bring to life for us. She's played countless roles, leading roles in The Twelfth Night, Three Sisters, Macbeth, Antony and Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, to name but a few. I'm truly honoured to introduce the hugely talented Dame Harriet Walter. Hi, Harriet.
Hello. That was a lovely introduction.
Oh, well, I've tried to rehearse it a couple of times. Can you tell?
Seemed very spontaneous to me.
Yeah, no, it's so good. And we're so pleased to have you with us today. I'm going to jump straight in and be really selfish and ask one of my questions, which I'm dying to hear the answer to. And that is, have you always been an actor in the making? What took you to acting?
Showing off as a kid, probably. I think I was 9 years old when I first stated to the family, I want to be an actress. And of course, everybody said, yeah, because most little girls want to be an actress. And my grandfather wrote a letter to my dad when I was coming up to 18, saying, you mustn't pursue this, it'll be a disaster.
Oh, wow.
And my dad was kind enough to never show me that letter till I was 30, and I'd already got going. Which I thought was very good of my dad. He sort of ignored it, but basically my grandfather thought it wasn't a fitting job for someone who had a bit of a brain, because I was quite brainy at school. But you need your brain for everything, don't
Absolutely.
you? Whatever your job is. So 9 years old, I've always wanted to act.
Well, it was already the right choice for you, and we can see that just from reeling off some of the amazing things that you've taken part in. And, as I sort of tried to allude to earlier, there are so many different diverse roles that you have undertaken. However, it's your Shakespearean roles that have been a constant in your career. How do you approach understanding and delivering the text?
Well, first of all, I read it through several times, to try and get a feeling of what it's about. First of all, and you can often, even if you don't know a word, you can get the gist of something from the rhythm of it or from the context of it. And, you do use the notes and look things up and mentally paraphrase things. Make sure you understand what you're saying, first of all. And what I find is that the most important thing is to notice every word. And that helps you learn as well. Everything that is good to notice about the text is also a clue to a help to learning. So there are things like alliteration, where a P follows a P, or sounds that echo one another, or the rhythm, you know, when you dum de dum de dum de dum de dum, you know, that makes it quite easy to learn. And, you know, the specificity of the image, you just get these pictures in your head that are so clear that it's much easier to learn than very ordinary dialogue. I have much more trouble learning something like "come in and have a cup of tea" and "where were you on the 5th of April?" You know, that's much harder to learn than something that's so specific.
Yeah, that almost reminds me of when I was a kid at church, and I got a book token for being able to recite all of the books in the New Testament, and I did that really by almost like forming a song. So I totally identify with what you were saying there. Now I know that
it's a musical memory, isn't it? Really,
yeah,
like people remember the words of songs because they can remember the rhythm, and that's a lot of how you remember Shakespeare.
Absolutely. So I know, Harriet, that you were going to introduce a scene that we were going to use today, and you were going to talk through the scene itself, the why, the what, the where, and how, if you like.
Yes, it was very hard to narrow down because there are so many things you could, you know, I'm so enthusiastic about this subject. There are so many things I want to talk about. But in the time we've got, I thought I would take the speech in Twelfth Night that Viola gives to the audience. And Viola, one of the major things any actor in any form, TV, radio, film, theatre, the first question you have to ask is, why am I telling you this? Why do I need to speak at all?
Yeah.
And when you have a soliloquy, it's often because there's nobody else that you can talk to except for the audience. They're your friends and your confidants, and you can't tell the people on stage your secret. Now, Viola's secret is that she's dressed as a boy. She's in disguise as Cesario, and everybody on this island thinks that she's Cesario, a boy. And only the audience knows the difference. So when she gets to certain points in the plot, when everything's going terribly wrong, the audience, the only people she can tell. So this is one of those moments when she can tell the audience, what the hell am I going to do now? And so if I can summarize the plot backing up to this, she's dressed as a boy because she's been shipwrecked and she's a fragile girl, and the only way she can get through is by joining the court of Count Orsino. And she's in his court amongst his pages and servants, and she's fallen in love with him, but she can't do anything about it because she's dressed as a boy, and she's a very heterosexual girl. And the object of her crush, Orsino, is passionately in love with the Lady Olivia, and sends Cesario off to woo Olivia on his behalf, because Olivia has totally rejected him. She can't, absolutely not interested in Orsino. So Cesario goes along and woos Olivia and says, my master absolutely adores you. You've got to listen to him. His heart's breaking. And she goes, rubbish, I'm not interested. Go away. So Cesario leaves. But once he's left the scene, Olivia confides to the audience that she's fallen in love with Cesario. So you've got the perfect love triangle. Viola loves Orsino, Orsino loves Olivia, and Olivia loves who she thinks is Cesario. And what Olivia's just done is she sent her manservant Malvolio to run after Viola with a ring saying, I'd love you to try and say this, please, Shirley. If you give me Malvolio's speech when he runs up and stops Cesario in the street, I will then give the speech that responds to that.
Okay, great. Bear with me. I'm going to try and deliver this with some impact. My mistress returns this ring to you, sir. She adds, moreover, that you should put your lord into a desperate assurance she will none of him. And one thing more, that you will never be so hardy to come again in his affairs, unless it be to report your lord's taking of this. Receive it so.
I left no ring with her. What means this lady? Fortune forbid mine outside have not charmed her. She made good view of me. indeed so much that methought her eyes had lost her tongue, for she did speak in starts, distractedly. She loves me, sure. The cunning of her passion invites me in this churlish messenger. None of my lord's ring, why, he gave her none. I am the man. If it be so, as 'tis, poor lady, she were better love a dream. Disguise, I see thou art a wickedness, sorry, I'm learning this, a wickedness wherein the pregnant enemy does much. How easy is it for the proper false in women's waxen hearts to set their forms? Alas, our frailty is the cause, not we, for such as we are made of, such we be. How will this fadge? My master loves her dearly, and I, poor monster, fond as much on him, and she, mistaken, seems to dote on me. What will become of this? As I am man, my state is desperate for my master's love. As I am woman, now, alas the day, what thriftless sighs shall poor Olivia breathe? Oh, time, thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie. I was doing it fairly straight there, but there are lots of ways I would do that differently if I was in live performance. But I just hope to say it quite clearly, given the story that I've led up to. I hope quite a lot of that's understandable, but let me know what, if anything, you don't understand, or tell me.
Yeah, shall we go through both speeches and just paraphrase them almost and try and sort of provide a greater understand, because it's definitely some of those bits sound for me, certainly in Viola's speech, I understand the majority, but there are elements of it that I don't understand.
Yes, it's like a lot of the time, I'm sure all of us, including me, even when I know a play, when you're watching Shakespeare, you only, you get the gist a lot of the time. You don't hear every single word and you don't understand every single word, but it's a play in motion and it's action filled. And so you don't stop to think, what did that mean? You just carry on. But obviously the actor has to know exactly what they're meaning. And with any luck, that will make it clearer for the audience. So here we have, she's been given this ring.
Yeah.
And she says, I left no ring with her. What means this lady? That's fairly straightforward, isn't it? What does this lady mean?
Yeah.
And then she says, fortune forbid. And I've highlighted fortune forbid because that's a typical way of helping you to learn. It's two sounds that sound alike. Fortune forbid, mine outside have not charmed her. Well, it means, we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but the outside of me, i.e. this disguise as a boy, which is not the real me, it's just the outside of me, have not charmed her. In other words, I hope to God she hasn't become charmed by my exterior. She made good view of me, meaning she looked me up and down a lot. Indeed, so much, actually, I remember now, because she's a girl and she's very observant, and she certainly was watching this girl very hard, A, because she's her rival, B, because, she's a girl and she watches other girls, and C, because we'll see in a minute, her reaction is, she's pitiful, she's sorry for Olivia. She's not jealous of Olivia. Her first reaction isn't, God the bitch. It's poor Olivia, Olivia. So she says, okay, she made good view of me, indeed so much that me thought her eyes had lost her tongue, which is a wonderful, neat phrase, isn't it? The way she looked, she could then become speechless because she did speak in starts, distractedly. So she was watching and she was going, oh yes, well, can I get right? So another girl would pick that up immediately and know this girl's. And then the penny drops and she goes, oh, she loves me, sure. Now the audience already know because they've heard Olivia say it and they're just waiting for the moment when Viola's going to figure it out. And she figures it out quicker than a boy would, I would argue, because she's very tuned in and sensitive to this other girl, and she recognizes the behavior of someone who's in love. Yes. So she loves me, sure. Then she goes to the cunning, right? Because she recognizes that Olivia's had a cunning trick. The cunning of her passion, she's motivated by her passion to be cunning, invites me in this churlish messenger. So that tells Malvolio he's got to be a bit churlish and bad-tempered when he delivers it. Invites me to come back. This is Olivia's way of getting Viola to come back, because what Olivia's going, if I give her a ring, she hasn't a clue what it's about. She'll have to come back, or he will have to come back and say, what is this ring? I didn't give you a ring. Yeah. And then she'll get another glimpse of him and blah, 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 maybe try and woo him. But Viola's seen through it. The cunning of her passion invites me in this churlish messenger. None of my lord's ring. Why, he gave her none. Yeah. I am the man. That's all fairly straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if it be so, as 'tis. Now that's a lovely little naturalistic thing, isn't it? That keeps you, because one of the things about speeches in Shakespeare is you don't want to treat them like a long speech you've prepared. Yeah. You've got to speak each line as if you don't know that that's not going to be the end of the whole thing. And then you have another thought, and you have another thought, and you have another thought, and you keep it going, and it's active, and it's in motion. And so if you have a line like, if I was approaching this and learning it, I would notice something like, if it be so, as 'tis, it would be a little in brackets that means that she's listening to herself and going, well, come on, it is true.
Yeah.
And it's very spontaneous. So none of my lord's ring, why, he left her none. I am the man. If it be so, as 'tis, poor lady, she were better love a dream. So she's sympathizing with, she's got lots of empathy for Olivia because she's in love with a dream as well. She'll never get her man either. So she will never disguise. Then she turns to the disguise and says, you're the enemy. I now see that you're something that does a lot of damage without me knowing about it. It's quite a complicated image, this. I see thou art a wickedness, disguise, you're a wickedness, in which the pregnant enemy does much. Now, pregnant is a feminine idea, but it also means you're full of something that's about to burst. You're giving birth to some damage, some bad consequence of events. And then she starts to comment about girls in general, women in general. What about us? Let's look at us. How easy it is. And then Shakespeare gets an image, and you have to get behind the image when you're learning it. You have to think of the image before you say it. It's like, here's the wax, and our hearts are like molten wax, and somebody's outer form can just impress us so much that it stamps itself in our silly little soft hearts, and it so easily happens on instant. So how easy is it for the proper false, in other words, this is false, my disguise, but it's already done it, she's fallen for it because her heart is so soft and waxen, it's ridiculous, it's made an impression. So how easy is it for the proper false in women's waxen hearts to set their forms? You've got these F's, you can remember the word, it is the proper false to set their forms, and women's waxen hearts. So you get these alliterations that help you remember the words. And thou art a wickedness, if you're thinking sometimes we used to have an exercise with Cicely Berry where you'd say a line like, disguise, I see thou art a wickedness, where she said, thou art a what? And you'd have to go, thou art a wickedness. And it means you notice every word. It's not just an ordinary word. The character.
Yeah, I think we can actually bring up your speech, Viola's speech, on the screen for the audience to see, and where you've actually highlighted some of those words in red.
Yes, the things that's what I do when I learn it. I sort of point out to myself where the things that might help me connect with the speech or remember or make a comment.
Yes.
So she's already switched. The thing is to break it down so that it's not just one boring speech, that her thoughts are coming very quickly. I've got this ring. What the hell's that? Yeah. Da, da, da. Oh my God, she's fallen in love with me. Oh, how awful for her. my God, isn't it ridiculous? Women are so easily struck dumb by outer shapes. And then she says, alas, our frailty is the cause, not we. For such as we are made of, such we be. Well, I thought that was rather a passive comment, isn't it? It's kind of, I can't help it. That's the way women are. And actually, I thought that's an indication of her character. She's a little bit passive. She lets things happen to her. She gets blown around by the wind, and she feels she hasn't got the agency to change her fate. That's a very character. You know, you get these little things that tell you about your character, what sort of character she is. She's also very compassionate. Her first reaction is to feel pity for Olivia and to identify with her. So so then we go on. Shall I carry on?
Yes.
We're nearly there. So then she says this strange thing. So she's made this thing, such as we are made of, such we be. And then she says, wait a minute, how will this fadge? Now, that's a word I've never heard before. I've never heard it since. And Shakespeare was always making up words. He coined a whole new vocabulary. He expanded the English language by 6,000 words or something.
Wow.
And so he invented this word fadge. And to me, it makes me think of fudge. It's like this kind of mess.
Yes.
How will this fadge, meaning how are we going to get out of this mess?
Yeah.
And or how do I sort this out? And then she says, okay, let me work it out. Let me work it out. Number one, my master loves her dearly, and I, poor monster, fondles much on him, as she, mistaken, seems to dote on me. So, my God. And then she says, what will become of this? What's going to happen? And then this slightly difficult thing to get across. As I am man, well, as I'm believed to be a man, in the sense that I'm believed to be a man, I have no hope with my master. My case is desperate for my master's love. As I am woman, because I am a woman, now, alas the day, what thriftless sighs shall poor Olivia breathe? In other words, her case is hopeless. Now, thriftless means that you're not thrifty with them. They're basically incontinent. You know, they're just never stopping sighs that poor Olivia's destined to, because she's never going to have me because I'm a heterosexual girl under here.
Yeah.
And then she goes, oh my God, she listens to the story that she's just unfolded. And you get this with a Shakespeare speech sometimes, that the person's actually heard themselves speaking. They've spoken their thoughts out loud. And they realize, oh my God, this is too complicated for me to. So she says, oh, time, you're the only thing, time. It's up to you. Thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie. And Shakespeare loves puns, which also helps you learn. So when he says, oh, time, thou must untangle this, not I, it's like tie, isn't it? It's like untie, not I. Yeah. So you give yourself these little tricks to help you learn things. Do ask me any questions.
Yeah, no, I have got a couple of questions, and that was a brilliant explanation, and it's really actually illuminating to sort of hear you paraphrase it and turn it almost into sort of normal English for the rest of us, mere mortals, to try and understand, and it really does provide the clarity. So a couple of questions. We spoke about your sort of, the main point to your main tasks. How do you go about making a speech sound so spontaneous when you're on stage?
I think it helps if you realize that, I mean, it's a paradox. You've done a lot of preparation. You've worked out every single note. But as soon as that's really technically under your skin, you can be spontaneous on top of that, because you trust that all that learning and that technique is there. So you can be very quick. And also, you have these wonderful clues. Shakespeare does give you these lovely spontaneous moments. Like, if it was, oh, poor lady, she would better love a man. You know, he has these little interjections where and when you notice them, you use them whenever you can. And whenever you get a line that sounds very natural, like, some things sound very conceptual and are quite difficult to get across. And we've got some of those in this speech. But we've also got some very normal things to say, like, when she says, none of my lord's ring, why, he gave her none. When you've got those sort of sentences, they're fairly straightforward, and when they're really quite natural, then you use them as much as you can. And you also use the pretense, because acting is pretense, of spontaneity. You're pretending you're thinking on the spot.
Yeah.
And so I could do it again very spontaneously if you want me to. Or
Yeah, why not?
Some other questions first.
I think if we go through it one more time, doing that, and then we should have chance just to do one more question after that and then wrap up.
Great, okay.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Do you want to do your speech again? You did it brilliantly, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm never going to forget this, ever. Okay, deep breath. My mistress returns this ring to you, sir. She adds, moreover, that you should put your lord into a desperate assurance that she will none of him. And one thing more, that you will never be so hardy to come again in his affairs, unless it be to report your lord's taking of this. Receive it so.
I left no ring with her. What means this lady? Fortune forbid mine outside have not charmed her. She made good view of me. Indeed, methought so much that her eyes had lost her tongue, for she did speak in starts, distractedly. She loves me, sure. The cunning of her passion invites me in this churlish messenger. None of my lord's ring. Why, he gave her none. I am a man. If it be so, as 'tis, poor lady, she were better love a dream. Disguise, I see thou art a wickedness, wherein a pregnant enemy does much. How easy is it for the proper force in women's waxen hearts to set their forms? Alas, our frailty is the cause, not we. For such as we are made of, such we be. How will this fadge? My master loves her dearly, and I, poor monster, fond as much on him. And she, mistaken, seems to dote on me. What will become of this? As I am man, my state is desperate for my master's love. As I am woman, now alas the day, what thriftless sighs shall poor Olivia breathe? Ah, time, thou must untangle this, not I. 'Tis too hard a knot for me to untie.
I feel like I want to do this. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. That was absolutely brilliant. Sadly, we're literally bang on time now, so we are going to have to wrap it up. But I really do feel that we've made the most out of this session, and I know that all of those Bravo 22 members that are really passionate about Shakespeare and learning more about it will be indebted to you today. It's been an absolute pleasure and a real honour.
Thank you. I've really had a good time. I wish we had more time and we could have more questions.
Well, perhaps we can get another one organised at some stage.
Or some emailing questions.
Yes, definitely, because there are a couple. So if you're happy with that, I'll make sure that we get those sent through to you, and hopefully we can get those signed off and some of those answers back to the audience. But thank you so much, Dame Harriet. We're really are honoured to have you. I'm personally going to put this down as one of those dream scenarios. I'll never forget it.
Well, you did brilliantly. You made that totally clear.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
So just a reminder to everyone to get their feedback forms completed on the YouTube live session. That really helps us inform on what sessions we do in the future. Do encourage all of your friends and family, anybody else that you know in the military community, to subscribe. I think we had a target of about 250 and we need another 28 to make it. So come on, guys, girls, get behind it. Let's try and share on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those media platforms. And lastly, thank you to you guys for dialing in, and to all our Bravo 22 members, but also the Royal British Legion for making this possible, and the Drive Project. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your rest of the day. Bye.